guys, it's Debbie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we speak life. Speak what you seek until you see what you said. In today's video, we are doing another EMT Q&A because it was highly requested and there's a lot of questions, so let's just get started. Before anything, if you have not done so yet, click that red button down below to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also hit that bell icon so that you guys get more notifications on EMT videos like this. It's quite obvious that a lot of you guys are very interested in my EMS life because of the vlogs that I put and the number of views it has gotten. And a lot of you guys are still asking me questions under those comments, so I just want to do a separate video to answer each and every one of the questions that you guys gave me as well as possible. Let's just get into it. I asked you guys to ask me questions both on my Instagram. If you're not following that, it's speak_life with 3 E's, and also on my YouTube channel I created a post for you guys to ask me questions, and so I'm gonna try to balance it as best as possible. Again, there was more than 200 questions that came in, so yeah, let me just go right into it. So the biggest question that I got, and most of you guys already know that the majority of my YouTube channel is my lifestyle. It's lifestyle based. It's what I believe in, what I live by. So obviously it's biblical. I'm apostolic Christian. I believe in the oneness doctrine. I present myself differently than a lot of EMS providers do in regards to my values, my, principios, how I make certain decisions, why I make certain decisions, and so because of that, I'm sort of, how do I say it, and a lot of you guys said it under the commentary, that I'm very different than a lot of firefighters and EMTs based off of the way I act. I don't know how to explain it, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. But the number one question that I got was, are you allowed to wear skirts? So again, my lifestyle as an apostolic Christian, I always wear skirts. Always wear skirts. If you want to check out my beliefs videos, go ahead and check out all my YouTube channel videos about modesty. You guys will find it there. But no, I'm not allowed to wear skirts as an EMS provider, and I'm not trying to justify it, but the thing is that modesty is how you present yourself to the world, fashion based, right? What you want to wear, what you choose to wear. I don't choose to wear pants in the EMS field because I think it's fashionable or stylish. I have to wear it because, again, you're dealing with people that potentially have, you know, urine, feces, blood on them, and you just don't want to get contaminated. You're also dealing with patients that can't walk, can't get up or anything, and you have to help them by lifting them up, squatting, and obviously as a modest girl, you don't want your legs all out there open and everything. So no, I don't wear skirts. I have to wear pants, but I do it based off of, hey, it's not fashionable, it's just the dress code. That was another question, based off of like, what's the dress code? We always have to wear either we wear all navy blue. I'm from WVRS, we Involuntary Rescue Squad, so we have, I have a lot of apparel from them. I have a short sleeve, long sleeve, hoodies, I even have like a reflective jacket, but we just have to wear what they provide us. So we have to pay for it, obviously, but we have to present ourselves well because we're going into other people's houses and we're representing Montgomery County as well as we Involuntary Rescue Squad in general. A lot of people ask, do I get paid? And some people ask, why volunteer? Why don't you go career? So I was thinking of doing career, but it's something that as of right now and what I see in my near future is not going to fit. I love volunteering. I wanted to come in here for more hands-on experience. I do love the healthcare field, and I wanted to do a little bit more for my community. I knew certain people at the station that helped me get my foot in the door, and because of that, I just love what I do. Volunteer or not, taking the time to help people in need is just something that I love. And so yes, I don't get paid. I am a firm volunteer. I give an hour, certain amount of hours that the station asks for, and I also cover people when I need to, just because it's something fun that I love. It's something that fulfills me, and you know, I don't end up being bored here, stuck in the house or studying or anything like that. It's time that I like to take out of the day to do that. Do you feel adrenaline going into a call? Always. Every call is unpredictable. If you're looking to be an EMT or a firefighter or anything like that, you got to start as the basic level, which is as an EMT responder, and every call you get is unpredictable. It may be sick person and next you know it turns into shooting or it turns into cardiac arrest. That's happened to me so many times where I step foot in the door and you think it's one thing, but it's actually something way past that. And so yeah, you always have to have that adrenaline. Again, as an EMT in charge of the ambulance, I have to make sure that my crew is safe, and I have to make sure I know what I'm doing. How do you deal with death? So there was only one call that I really had a hard time after, because this person was just, the story behind it was so sketch, so sad, and he was young, very young. And so the way he died was very hard for me to comprehend. It's just spiritual. Again, you guys know me. If you look at my YouTube channel in its entirety, I am a Christian. Most of my stuff is faith-based. So I just put everything in the hands of God, the family, that soul, and hope for the best. You know, you can just praise and do so much. And that's life. Like God says, we're dust in the wind, and we never know whether it's our time to go. So we just have to live and conform with the Bible and how he tells us to act and live by. So that's how I usually deal with it. How do you become an EMT, or what are the requirements? I talked about this in my last video. It's going to be linked up here, but go ahead and check it out. So you have to, depending on where you live and what your county, what programs your county has. I went and got my EMS certification through the county. It was all free. Literally, I get all my credentials, but the only thing I have to do is volunteer, and then after that, I can apply to be career or anything. So some cases, most of the cases, you have to have a high school diploma, and sometimes you don't. But literally, you can start off at zero, like no college credit, no medical experience or anything like that. They will take you in, and you will learn everything there is to know about being an EMT. After you get that certification, then you can look into other branches of becoming an officer, a firefighter, a paramedic. You just work up. The requirements are very minimal, but you just have to make sure you have the time, because it's very time consuming with the classes. And that's another question: how long does it take to become an EMT? Again, it varies. You can do it through a community college, you can do it through a university, get the certification, which takes between 1 to 2 years. I did mine through the county with a program that only took 6 months. I did the class for 6 months, and after that I took my NREMT, passed the first time, amen, glory to God. And I did my Maryland drill, which is they give you a patient, a scenario, and you have to act like an EMS provider, and they're looking for specific things in the protocol that you have to check. And yeah, I passed that, and after that I became an EMT. When did you start, and where would your dream place be to work? So I started, believe it or not, I started volunteering August of 2019, got my certificate February 8th, 2020. So literally in about 3 weeks, I'm gonna complete 1 year of being an EMS provider, which is amazing. And so that's when I started, and my dream place to work is just a hospital setting. I love the healthcare field. I love how vigorous it is, how unpredictable it is. I love how intense it could get, and I highly suggest that if you don't have a strong character that can work under pressure, then maybe EMS is really not something you should look into, because you always work under pressure, whether it's the patients wanting certain things, or you're working in a group with a high priority patient. Like the patient could be coding on you in the back of the ambulance, and you got to start working under pressure. You have no time to freeze or choke on, you know, any of your words or any of your patient care skills. So yeah, you just got to make sure you're going in there with a strong mind. Did you always want to be an EMT? I had no clue that I was gonna go into EMS, being an EMS provider. I initially was going to go for, you know, like I was just gonna do lab work or research, so that my resume for applying to med school was gonna be like spot on. But then I switched from being trying to become a doctor to becoming a physician assistant, and so I knew I needed to do some kind of patient care hours. but I also wanted to do a little bit more hands-on. Like, I don't want to be sitting and writing notes and looking at observations and conducting experiments. That's just not my side of the medical field that I love. I love more of the hands-on, intense situations. And so then I found out the opportunity at a late age, because I was already 18. Going into being 19, and people were there when they started at 15, 16. Obviously you can't be a provider until you're 18, so I guess it kind of worked out, but you were still able to ride in the ambulance and be part of these calls and learn a lot. And I wish I just knew that I could do it earlier. Have you ever been to the same address more than once on a shift? Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I remember there was a night where I think I got 2 or 3 calls in the same location, and they're all different patients, different situations, and it's just, again, unpredictable. Like, you look at the address, and there's certain addresses that you see that pop up and you're like, we're going there, or like, oh man, like, you know there's a certain person that you're gonna go see at that specific address, and you're just prepared. But again, it's unpredictable, because I remember I had that mentality at one call, and it was just not at all what I thought it was gonna be. So a lot of people are asking, they're taking refresher courses, or they're doing the NREMT study tips. My study tip, or in the beginning, make sure you're taking some vivid notes that really help you understand and take in the material. My book, in like my last video, is like this big, and I condensed it to a notebook this much that allowed me to know everything there is to know about shock, stroke, cardiac, diabetics, medications, respiratory rates, heart rates for different ages, all that. I made sure that I wrote down the notes so that I was going to be able to, like, sort of like a review. And then for the NREMT, I bought a book that, again, I'll link down below, that summed up everything as well. Had a lot of practice tests, which I took. I work better when I'm not studying last minute, because if I study last minute, I know that most of the information will not be retained because I'm so nervous. The NREMT, I heard, and there's a saying that if you feel like you got out of there like you passed, you failed, and if you feel like you got out of there failing, you passed. And I felt like I failed, but I passed the first time. So don't be so hard on yourself if you fail the first or the second time, or even the third time. Go in there strong, prove people wrong, and just make sure you're not doing the same study habits as you did before, because obviously if you failed the second time, that means something in your study routine is not working out, and you gotta throw it out. Hardest part about being EMT, I feel like the hardest part for me is watching those people that I wasn't able to save or help out, or that we collectively could not, resuscitate or do anything for. Even the people that are alive that you see are struggling, but you yourself, you're just a first responder. You can only do so much. The medics can only do so much, and then we just leave the rest to the hospital. So I think the hardest part for me is leaving them at the hospital and hoping that, I know they're in good hands, but I'm just hoping that it's not as serious. And also it's hard to see the lives that people live and the stories that come behind certain calls. It's just like, wow, like, you never expect to find a patient that goes through so much, or whether that's abuse, whether that's alcoholism, whether that's being a drug addict. It's just, that's the hardest part for me as a Christian, because I know spiritually that I have to preach to them about God, but I can't, because that's I would get in trouble for that. But I do keep them in my prayers, and that's what helps me get through the day. Did it ever make me regret joining the medical field? Absolutely not. It made me want to pursue it even more, just because of, like I said, the intensity behind it, the way your brain has to work during calls, especially the high, like I said, the high intensity ones. And it's just something that I love to do. Helping the people and them being so, vulnerable is something that I just want to be there for. It's rewarding to hear that they're super grateful for us. I know there's a bunch of patients that we've transported that after, they're like, oh my gosh, you don't understand how much I appreciate you. You guys are so kind. We even get like reviews based off of them going onto a website and writing a review about a certain crew that conducted the call that they were in, and how we treated them and how we made them feel comfortable. And I've gotten a couple of those, and I read their commentary, and it's just, you know, super rewarding to know that that we give good patient care, that we allow them to feel comfortable in their highest moments of stress, in their highest moments of them thinking that they're going to, you know, pass out or die. Will you come save me? If something's medically wrong and you live in Montgomery County, yeah, I can. One person asked, when you are staying overnight, what are the essentials you bring with you? So I have a locker that I share with my friend at the station, and in that locker I have extra sheets, obviously, because they provide, you know, they have an entire bunk room with, I would say, more than 10-15 bunks in there, where you have to obviously bring your own sheets, change them, and your own blanket and stuff, and it gets cold in there. So for me, I have about 2 extra sheets, I have a blanket, and then I have a Sherpa king-size blanket that, oof, is a lifesaver, because I can get hot in that blanket enough that I don't have to sleep with it in a very cold room. So I have that. I also have gum, mint. I definitely have shampoo and conditioner, and an extra towel, as well as extra undergarments and clothes, just in case, you know, if we have a COVID call that we didn't know about and we were potentially exposed, we have to take everything off that we wore at that call, and then we have to take a shower and then wear extra clothes. So I have to make sure to have all that. And we have like other feminine products in there that we use. You never know what's gonna happen overnight. What advice would you give females that would want to become an EMT? I'll give you the same advice that my officer before he left to law school gave me. He told me to present myself as the smartest person in the room. Let me phrase it like that. The smartest, bravest person in the room. So don't be afraid to let out your opinions. Don't be afraid to talk to a medic or someone, you know, the duty officer that's at the call. You're an EMS provider. You got your NREMT certificate the same way they did. You went through the same training. Although the experience level is highly different, you can still offer a solution that could potentially help the situation. I remember I was in a call where we had about 4 medics, and 3 of them were girls, 2 of them were girls and 2 of them were guys, and the girl was leading it, and she was amazing. She did micromanaging. She was able to tell everybody what was going on. We looked up to her and we trusted her judgment. She was just a great leader. So I highly suggest that you present yourself humbly, but also you're smart. So if you know what's going on, respectfully put your opinion out there. What were you most nervous about starting off? So I started off as a co-pilot, meaning that I would just help the EMT in charge get what they needed to get. So nasal cannula, oxygen, taking glucose, vitals, and stuff like that. Very vague. So I guess I was just nervous on, how do I say it, living up to my aide's expectations, so the EMT in charge. When I became an aide, an EMT in charge, the most nervous thing is that I'm conducting the whole call. I'm in charge of taking care of that patient, I'm in charge of the call, and I'm in charge of the unit, making sure that my crew is safe. So the most nerve-wracking thing for me was to present myself as a responsible and competent gal that knew what she was doing, and that co-pilots wouldn't be afraid of her, because so many people at my station think I'm intimidating, and I don't know if that's true. I guess it's just the way I look, but I promise you guys I am the nicest person you'll ever meet. I just want to make sure that people are comfortable with me and my calls, are able to ask me questions. Even if they do something wrong, I'm somebody to not call them out at the moment, but after the call be like, hey, let's sit down and talk about this. How could you have done something better? So my thing is living up to the station and making sure I'm leaving a good representation of them, as well as my crew, making sure that they know what they're doing. I think that's the biggest thing that I was nervous about. Do you see yourself working as an EMT paramedic? Yeah, I see myself not staying as an EMT. I would love to become a paramedic, but like I said, circumstances at my moment, which you guys will know in the near future, is not going to allow me to become a paramedic at the time. But who knows 5 years from now or 10 years from now where I'm gonna be. But yeah, I would have loved to be a paramedic. Another question is, would I choose to be a firefighter? No. Fighting fires is not my thing. So for those firefighters that are out there, kudos to you. You guys are dogs. You guys are awesome, right? But for me, it's not something that I love to do. Like at the station, we don't have, we have firefighters, but we don't have fire trucks. What we have is a rescue squad, which again, if you saw my other videos, they explain that it's just a whole toolbox on wheels. So if you have to do extrication with the patient trapped in a vehicle or in a home, they also go to fires. If they have to break down a door, all those tools are found there. So everyone on there is a firefighter. And yeah, what they do is awesome, but I don't see myself, like, the uniform's cool, like wearing the overalls and everything, but it's just not me. What is it like being an EMT? It's amazing, dude. Like I said, I love it so much. I love being an EMT. I love the people that I met, the relationships I established. I love being able to, instead of being encerrada in my room, locked into my room, I'm out there doing something for my community, and it just feels good. I feel competent, I feel smart, I feel like I can do something in the medical field. I feel like I made a difference in someone's life, and yeah. So a lot of people ask, what was the worst encounter or traumatic thing that you've seen at your job? Like I said, I think the worst encounter that I had was that one call with that young adult, I'm gonna say, who died from a heart attack, cardiac arrest. Again, we didn't have any ID on him, no identification, so got to the hospital and died as John Doe, which sucks. If you guys don't know what that means, it's like anybody who doesn't have an identification automatically gets named John or Jane Doe. That was just hard for me because I didn't know the person, but the fact that he was sort of my age and no one knew what happened, it was just crazy how life can just disappear right out of your hands. Are you planning on keeping this job or staying as an EMT, or are you going to look for another job? If I could continue volunteering as an EMT, I will, because it's just something that I love to do, and I feel like I have the time. So yes, I do plan on staying. However, circumstances don't allow me to, then I'm just gonna have to retire from that, that moment in my life that I've done, to encourage other people like you guys to go ahead and do it. And to sum up the rest of the questions, I am 20 years old, going to turn 21 in about 6 months, so I am young. You don't have an age requirement to start. I've heard people start at 15, 16. Depending on the state, you can start being an EMT provider at 18, but you can still start young and ride on ambulances and help and get that experience. You just need to do research along your county or your state, your school, university, college, whatever it is, about certificates of becoming an EMT. Pass your NREMT. Again, do not be nervous. The NREMT is hard overall, but it's meant so that they know that they're putting a competent person out there to save people's lives, okay? So it's a high responsibility, and you just have to treat it like a high responsibility. So the way you study your butt off to pass that NREMT. Make sure that you're getting rid of bad study habits. If you failed the first time, that means something is not happening right in your study routine that you got to throw out. Never get nervous. You're gonna love it, guys. If you don't know what to do with your life, or if you're looking for something to enjoy, go ahead and look into becoming an EMT in your area, and you're not gonna regret it. So those were all the questions that I had. There was a lot more, but again, I just jumbled them all together because some of them were just reoccurring over and over again, and I hope I answered the majority of your questions. I will be doing more Q&As probably in a month or two, just because I know there's a lot more questions that I was not able to answer that you guys had. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, check out my other EMT vlogs. You guys are gonna love it. Thank you for subscribing, showing love, showing support. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and God bless.